If someone asked me what the most important or critical part of me as an artist would be, um, most people will probably think it's my hands, but the most important part is my ability to see, my ability to see beyond these colors and these shapes and to see what God allows me to see, to tell this story, to create this experience simply through color on a canvas. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of being an artist. I'm at a place in my work where it feels very peaceful. It's filled with grace and hope and light, and it continues to evolve. And I'm okay with that evolving process because there was a point where I wasn't okay with that. I felt like I had to stick on one path and see that path all the way through. But that may have not been where God desired for me to be. And I think that this place that I'm in now is a solid ground, a foundational ground. And I'm very happy with that place. And I'm excited to continue to see my work thrive and touch the hearts of so many people. So then the question becomes, what is my work about? And it is about hope. It's about light. It's about exploring all the transitions and the feelings that life brings and the experience that comes through life. And it's about healing and wholeness and love and just finding the joy in the midst of chaos. It's about finding the light in dark places. It's about whatever you allow it to be in this moment.
I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from the University of West Georgia. I got my BFA in painting, and that was quite a journey. Definitely a time of self discovery and figuring out who I was and who I was as an artist as well. When I first started, my work started out very literal, and I was painting depictions of the church and just experiences specifically in the Black church. And I remember during critiques that I would try to attempt to like explain what the painting was about, and I guess try to get people to understand what I was trying to say, but not realizing at the same time you wouldn't really get it if you're not a believer or if you have not been to a Black church. Um, and so that was a very frustrating and challenging time for me because I was like, well, God, you've given me this gift, and I'm trying to share it, and they don't understand it, and they're questioning, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy, um, and whew. um, there I was, this church girl at this university where everybody is not a believer and everybody does not want to be a believer, trying to share this faith and talk about this man Jesus simply through paintings, through brushstrokes. And it was it was challenging to my faith. It was challenging to my ability to create, um, to the point where I wasn't really producing work like I should have been. I remember there would be times where my professor would come and try and get an update from me about what new have I created? And I would kind of be like, I don't really have anything right now. And if I did have something, it was just a few sketches. It wasn't always a finished piece. And that was, I had that stress on top of all my other work, of course, outside of painting. Yeah, I would just like, constantly pray and ask God for clarity. Like, what am I supposed to do with this gift? Because my desire is to be a light in this world. My desire is to be a vessel for your glory. My desire is to use these paintings as catalysts to shed your light and shed your love. But I may be trying too hard because I feel like I'm completely failing at it. Like, Lord, they don't get it. What do I do? Like, do I start over? What do I do? So once I got through that semester, we went on, I believe, Christmas break. And during that break, I was determined to just figure out what was my next as a creative. And so I'm not really sure like how I got started, but I started painting clouds. I've always loved clouds. I'm the person that's sitting in the car, staring out the window, literally somewhere in the clouds. And so I just started painting clouds. And in that, there was like a sense of peace, like this feels right, but I was still kind of uncertain because I've always loved abstract art, but I never thought that it was something that I could do. I've admired it from afar. I've admired artists that are abstract painters, and just their ability to tell a story simply through color. But at the same time, I felt like that was the most challenging part, telling this story simply through color, and creating this space and experience for viewers to kind of make it their own. So I came back the next semester, the spring semester of my senior year, and by that time, as an art major, your senior semester, you're preparing for your capstone exhibition. So you should essentially have works lined up for your show and ready to go. Well, I came back that semester saying I want to change my work, which is like, that's a no-go. Like, it's too late in the game to change your work. But my professors were understanding, they were supportive, and they let me do it, and I wasn't taking no for an answer. So I changed the direction of my work to abstraction and to focus more on spirituality and creating a spiritual experience for viewers, and modeling artists like Mark Rothko, and Sam Gilliam, Joan Mitchell, these artists that create these, Claude Monet, these large pieces that literally captivate you, and kind of force you to be present in the moment and to understand, like, what do these colors, these shapes, these forms, what do they mean to me in this moment? And the more I begin to create like the cloud-like spaces, it felt natural. It felt like this is where I was supposed to be all along. It just took you a while to get here. And so, I'm building up my portfolio with those paintings. And even though I was reaching a point where I felt more at peace and comfortable with the direction that my work was going, I still struggled with the explanation part, the part of telling people what this piece is about, the part of putting a name to these paintings, the part of, again, although I'm creating abstraction, not being too literal and not being too overly religious to the point of people wouldn't want to engage with my work. So when I started doing the abstractions, I remember being in critiques and just kind of telling people what I was thinking while I was creating. And I would tell them how I started studying like the spiritual and prophetic meanings of colors. And even in that, there was still like this gap of, girl, we don't really understand what you're talking about, but okay. Like, we can tell you what these colors mean to us. We can tell you what we associate with these colors. But then again, there was also some understanding of the spirituality part. And I had to learn, like, and still learning, just let go. You can't be in control of how everyone experiences your work. I could tell you that purple or lavender is a color of intercession. I could tell you that red means love and sacrifice, but you could associate that with something completely different. And I have to be okay with that. But I know that the underlying meaning of my works and the goal of my work is to create an experience, a spiritual experience. And God will always be the foundation of my paintings. My faith will always be the foundation of my paintings. But I have to be open and be okay with people experiencing these for themselves. And so once I got to my fall semester, senior exhibition is coming up. I was still, still creating, trying to get these pieces out, and still also struggling with how to write about my work, and how to express it to people when they ask you, like, what is this about? Like, what does this mean to you? And so one day I can't remember I believe class was over for the day and it was just a few of us left in the studio. I was always in the studio early in the morning, late at night. It was like a second home for me. I was working on some pieces and my painting professor brought some of her students up from another class up to the studio to, just look around, see what advanced painting was about, what we do, check out everyone's work, and everything of that nature. And so I was given the opportunity to, just talk about my work a little bit, tell them what it's like to be an advanced painting, and share a couple pieces. And so I did that. And one student, after we finished, one student stayed behind because she wanted to get advice from me. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what she's gonna say, but all right. And she just explained to me how she really admired how I talked about my faith and shared my spirituality within my work, and how I was so confident in talking about God, and that's something that she struggled with. And I just kind of shared with her that sometimes as creatives, as believers that are creatives, we have to find a way to express God and present him in a way that can be, you know, understood and allow people to experience him for themselves. And again, going back to being literal, I told her, you know, we can't always be so literal, especially in this space, in this world that we're in this marketplace, in this broad marketplace. Literal is not always the way to go. And that moment was encouraging for me because there's always somebody watching. And I did not realize at the time that there were people that were watching me so closely and what I do. So I was happy that I was able to be a voice for her in that moment, to give her that encouragement that you can share your faith in this creative world. And for somebody that was always told, like, don't be so literal, don't be so literal, don't be so literal, even though at the time I did not want to hear that, it's what I needed to get me to this point of expression. So here we are. I had my senior exhibition, fall 2019. It was called Selah. A beautiful experience. I can't even fully express the joy that I felt in that moment, just sharing my pieces, sharing my faith in a way that was not forceful, and that just allowed people to experience it the way they see it. I loved how everybody, you know, interacted with my pieces. I got amazing feedback from that show. And though getting up to that point was hard, the end result was very rewarding. And after Selah, of course, came graduation. And it's shaking up my bones and tearing up my leg.